Hello,
Nigel.
I'm Nigel Lyons. I'm from Leicester. I lived here most of my life. I was born in Malta. My dad was in the forces.
So tell me about your memories of the Mayfair in Leicester. You were telling me about, you just told us a bit about Chelsea, your mate.
Yes. Chelsea's a different story, but the Mayfair in Leicester, when I was about 14, I was due to come home from the Mayfair 10 o'clock, 10:30. My mum was worried to death because I hadn't come home. By 1 o'clock in the morning, she'd phoned the police. The police were out looking for me. I don't know why they didn't find me because I was down there all the time. But when I got home, she said, "Where have you been? Where have you been?" I called the police. She thought I'd run away with the fare. I was working for one of the stores. I was taking the store down and all that. She said, 3 hours. I said, yeah. She said, how much did you get? I said, 50p. She said, I wouldn't have done 3 hours work for 50p. I said, I wouldn't have if I'd known. I thought he was going to give me more than that.
And you were telling us, and we were asking you about people who were, can you just tell us a bit about that? And when you answer, like, is that okay? Yeah, so just tell us about your friend.
My friend Chelsea, we grew up together, lovely fella. He didn't run away with the fair, but he ran away with the travelling community, gypsies, whatever. And he used to earn good money. So Colton learnt all the language and all that. He could speak more Romany than most of the gypsies themselves. And he had a real bad accident. He was in a coma for 3 months. And when he came round, he'd lost all his gold rings and his chains and everything. And he told me they'd stolen money at the accident and all that. And I said, no, Colton, you didn't. I told him what had happened. He'd been playing 3-card brag in a pub, put all his rings and his gold in, lost them, turned over the tables and had a fight in the pub, and they were running away from the police when he ran across the dual carriageway and he got hit twice. But he was a great character, he was. He played football for the West Midlands, one of the best indoor goalkeepers ever, and he got into a final down in London when he was 15, and they lost the final because the night before he went out and had a few drinks and he wasn't very good that day.
Well, tell me about which local team you support.
At the time I supported Hereford United, and my brother used to give me the money so that I could pay for a bus to get over to Hereford and pay to go in. I used to take his clothes back to Sketchley's because he might have had a bit of blood on his jacket from fighting, and he paid me this so our mum wouldn't find out. But what I used to do with the money he gave me, I used to hitchhike over to Hereford, climb over the wall, hitchhike back. But with the money he gave me, I'd have a couple of pints. It was the British Oak, we used to pop in and they'd give you a couple of pints under the counter so that they couldn't get caught.
Tell me about the Millwall match.
Millwall. When we was going to football matches in the second division, all the big clubs come up, and Hereford was a small ground and the big clubs come up and they were too much for Hereford. Everyone was fighting the Millwall. But the one Wednesday night, there hadn't been a lot of fans come, but the ones that come were the hard ones. They were nuts. Anyway, I was in the Meadow End and a few kids from school, a gang from school came. Lyons, let's go down the Millwall End. Okay, if you want to go, let's go. So we walked down the Millwall End and they'd put a fence up to stop different supporters mixing. But they didn't leave a policeman on it because no one was mad enough to get in the Millwall End. Well, these lads from school, they said, go on then, let's get in the Meadow End. I said, okay, jumped over the fence. Come on then. No. I stood in the front of all the Millwall fans, and a girl come round with a tray selling goods and that. And I used to like her at school, so I thought I'll show off a little bit. So I sang, United. About 50 Millwall fans come down at me. They'd have kicked me to whatever. But the police got to me first, dragged me over the wall, and they threw me back in the Meadow End. They didn't even chuck me out the ground.
But you were telling us before about the SAS and
The SAS, yes. They were stewards at the Wolverhampton game. I got tickets and I sold them to a couple of my mates who didn't think it was very funny because the only tickets I could get were at the Wolves End. So we went in the Wolves End and we were surrounded by Wolves fans. We had overscarves. I knew what I bought, so I jumped over the fence and went round and I got back into the Meadow End. But the Wolves fans were rioting. They were playing up terrible. There was thousands there. The SAS were controlling it. They were the stewards. I think they were banned from doing it after that game because they were using them as battering rams and shoving them into the side panels, and they didn't, if they caught them, they didn't show any mercy, really.
So was going to a match and getting into scrap all part of it?
It was, yeah. But it wasn't just football. Football got the bad name, but if you went to dances and that at that time, it was part of the culture, and football was just a way of doing it without getting caught, because you mass numbers, people would have a fight and all that, and they wouldn't get recognised until the cameras come out in the games, and that all changed.
Why did it change when the cameras came?
Well, they started putting people in prison for fighting, and they'd look up and put faces on the telly. Who are these people? I can remember going to Leeds against Birmingham, and they broke the gates down, they pushed a wall over, they climbed into the ground, hundreds got in free. I can remember they were standing on top of the tuck shop, and they said, can the Leeds fans on the tuck shop please get off the roof because it's liable to collapse? So they jumped on the roof, went through. The person selling the wares just stood there like that, terrified, and they just handed out all the pies to everyone. Then they broke up the concrete with their steel heels and the shoes and threw that at police. There was running battles. It was one of the worst troubles I've ever seen in a football match. I didn't get involved, I just stood there in amazement. The Birmingham fans were trying to get round, hundreds on the pitch, they had horses on the pitch. And it wasn't that hit the news, because it was the same day that they had the Bradford fire disaster. And after the Bradford fire disaster, they had a game up in Leeds. I'm a Leeds fan. They had a game up in Leeds in aid of the Bradford Fire Disaster Fund. I've got the programme at home. We went there and they had England against West Germany. And Jeff Hurst, they got all the players from the original 66 team. And Jeff Hurst scored an hat-trick against Germany as well. Great day.
Do you still support Hereford today?
I don't know. Hereford played Leeds, and I got so much hassle about being a Leeds fan. And I thought, well, if you were a Liverpool fan, you support it, you wouldn't get it. And they really give me grief. And I said, oh, to hell with Hereford, you know, and I didn't support them after that. But I got great friends who are Hereford fans. And when I went to see Hereford Leeds at Leeds, we won 1-0. We was expecting to win 6-1, and they played brilliant, Hereford, I must admit. And we could have had 6, but we hit the post at the bar, and we only got a late winner. But that day, I was sat in the, what's his name, John Charles stand, and John Charles played for Leeds and he played for Hereford. So I gave my ticket to a Hereford fan. John Charles could head the ball for Hereford. He's a Welsh international, and he could head the ball as hard as most people could kick it. He's brilliant.
What was the match where you queued up all night?
I queued up several times. Once was the one for the Wolves. We queued up for the Man United game. Man United played them in the Cup once. They lost. I also watched Arsenal. We went down to London to watch Arsenal, and the game was delayed because the train it broke down, and they had to get another train to push it in, and the game was delayed. Arsenal, Hereford drew at Edgar Street, and they had a replay down there, and they were doing really well against Arsenal, and Arsenal were dirty. Every time a Hereford player broke through and was a run and goal, they tackled them, and it wasn't a sending off offence in them days, and they got away with it, and then they beat us about 6-1. But if they'd have got through and got 1 or 2 goals early on, it would have been a totally different story.
So when a big team like Arsenal played at Edgar Street, what was the atmosphere like?
The ground was packed. I can remember teams coming up there, and you had over 10,000 there. If you get 2,000-3,000 now, it's good. But there was over 10,000 there. I think in the height, I think there may have been 15,000 for games like West Ham and Newcastle, which I didn't go to.
So were you there when there were people hanging in the trees?
I have seen it, but I wasn't there at the Newcastle game. I never missed a day from school, and my mum wouldn't let me have a day off because it was a Wednesday game. One thing I do remember, when they had a replay against West Ham, because they drew against them, down in London, a little club like Hereford, West Ham had the highest recorded gate, even their local derbies against other London clubs, because it was a coal mine strike and it was a 3-day week, and everyone's off work, so they all went to the match. So it was just a coincidence, really, rather than wanting to see Hereford, you know.
Do you have any other particular matches or events that stand out in your mind?
Lots, really. I can't think at the moment.
Okay. Okay, then just one more quick question about Hop picking, yeah. So tell us about your experiences of hop picking.
Right. When we were kids, we had to go in the fields and earn our money for our school uniform. If you had any money left over, you get a toy. We had a cricket bat or whatever and that. But it was usually black currants. But we did go hop picking once, me and my friend Paul Newman. And there was about 5 hops growing on the ground. And you take the best 3 and you tie them up on the rope. You pull away and rip off the others, leaving 2 in case some of those died to rewrap later. We were on £6 a day, which was all right because we weren't very good. The women weren't happy. They went to piecework because if it was piecework, they can earn £50 or £20 a day. So we were on £6 a day, and they were twice the way up the road than us. So they come and helped us. And when they came to help us, they realised we'd been tying the wrong way. So they had to unwind them and redo all our work. So we didn't do anything of benefit, but we still got our £6 a day.
That's brilliant.
Okay.